Hey, guess what? It's Tim Linder. I'm here to show you this tutorial on how to do a panography. So what we're going to be doing, I'm going to open up the mini bridge here so I can browse a few files, either some student examples from this project in the past. So what you're going to be doing is kind of faking this style of printing a bunch of photos out and putting them together in some sort of collage. And so what I mean by faking it is you're just going to use one image and copy and paste elements out of it into a different image, putting them back together in different orientations and maybe with different styles and layer styles and things like that. So you can see a few different examples here in the MIDI bridge. And so I'm going to show you how to do it just with this wonderful portrait example of this woman who seems very excited and very happy to be a part of this exercise. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this image. I am going to open a new Photoshop file. So I'm going to create a US paper 8.5 by 11, let's say 120 pixels per inch image here. And I'm going to be going back and forth with this image, copying, pasting elements out of it, and pasting it into my new file. So I'll just grab a section of it here with the marquee tool, and I'll choose Edit, Copy, or Command C, Control C on Windows. And I'm going to move over to my new document and choose Command V or Control V for the Windows users. And I'm going to move this into some place that I like. And I might like to try some things like transforming or scaling it. And I could always go up to Edit, Transform, and choose Scale or Rotate or something like that. I like getting to it by just choosing Command T or Control T on Windows. And that way I can scale up or down. Remember, you're holding Shift in order to constrain proportions. Or you can drag outside of this box to rotate it a little bit, and if you wanted to jump by, I think, 15-degree increments, you can hold Shift as well as you do that. So I can arrange this little snippet a little bit differently than what I initially pasted in there, and then go back and grab another element. And again, these don't have to be identical. You'll notice there's a lot of deviations of how students go about creating this specific exercise. I'll bring open those examples again here in a minute, but I'm going to copy or Command C, come over to this image, hit Command V, and then I might put it into place here. And again, they don't have to be in the exact position. I might have to use Command T or Edit, Transform, Rotate, or Scale, and I might rotate this one a little bit differently, maybe scale it down a little bit. So I have these two elements. Remember, if you want to move them around together, you can hold Shift and click in the Layers panel, and you can move these around together if you wanted to. So I'm going to go back and get one more element for my design here, getting my marquee tool and going through and maybe making a copy, Command C, moving over to my untitled document, Command V, pasting it in there, and then moving it possibly into place. So that's what you're going to be doing. You're going to be going through and creating this kind of collage of imagery utilizing one initial image. And remember, I'm going to go back to the mini bridge here, which is kind of the file browser, mini file browser. I've got these examples, and you'll notice some of these students have done some things a little bit differently. This one's kind of interesting, where they've got these really long horizontal slivers of imagery that they've put together. Sometimes they've used all the imagery, put it back together pretty much in order, and really haven't scaled it up as much, but they've put around these borders around their images. So you can see some differing examples. Sometimes maybe even changing the hue and saturation or transparency perhaps on a layer by layer basis to get a neat design. So there are several examples in here that you can kind of look at. This one's very interesting here, where they've taken adjustments and drop shadows and things like that. This one not necessarily orienting any of the pasted images in rotation any differently, but they have scaled them up and changed different selection rectangles depending on size. And so you can go through and these examples are linked to. You can check these out. But when you go through, one last thing that I'll show you here on this example is if you wanted to start doing some sort of an adjustment. Remember, you can take and adjust, image adjust the colors, or maybe the opacity of each layer. You may even want to come in and do things like choose a layer style, put a drop shadow or a stroke on your image. So I've got a little bit of a drop shadow on this layer. I might want to put an inner stroke. This is one of the things with strokes too, by the way, as far as a layer style. If you choose an outer stroke, it kind of gives that round beveled edge around the outside. If you don't want to get that, you can, and you're okay with eliminating a little bit of your image around the edges, what you can choose for a stroke is turn that outside stroke into an inside stroke, and now you got sharp corners on either side, and I could change that color to black and get it to look more like a photo print border or something like that. So you can go through and play around with some of these layer styles. You don't necessarily have to use them, but you can go through and decide which makes sense to you. Another thing that you can do is you have several selections and you wanted to copy over those layer styles. I can right click on the effects word here, and I can go to copy layer style. Then I can go and I can select the layers that don't have that layer style with holding the command key or control on Windows, and I can right click on that layer. Actually, I think I have to right click on the layer icon. Sorry. Oh, maybe not. Let's try the word of the layer. Come on here, Tim. Let's figure this out. There it is. Paste layer style. And so now I've pasted the layer styles on these two elements, and I'm ready to go. So that's kind of a short explanation of what you'll be doing in a panography assignment.